All righty. You guys hear me okay? I see heads nodding, so we must be good. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. Find my agenda and we will get started. So unfortunately, we don't have a youngin tonight. I mean, things are kind of crazy at the schools right now. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order. Not nearly as much fun as when we have the kids, that's for sure. So we'll do our declaration of quorum. So we will call the roll, please.
Matthews.
Here.
Ingles. Here. Flood.
Here.
Bolt.
Here.
Rutherford.
Here.
Seahorn.
Here.
Salter. We have a quorum.
Very good. And understand Commissioner Flood is going to do the invocation for us tonight.
Father God, we thank you for today, God, and we thank you for the beautiful sunshine. God, as we start this new year, Father, I thank you for the opportunity once again to serve the great city of Shawnee. Father, may the men and women here in this room that represent all the different sections and parts of our city, God, I pray that their lives be better because of the work that's done by this commission. God, thank you for the amazing staff and their dedication to not only their jobs but to this city. And God, thank you for the amazing folks that have come here tonight hoping to do their best to share their views and ideas on how we should lead and help each other to grow. God, we praise you and love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Join the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. So item one is always the citizen participation. Same rules as always. 3 minutes per person, 12 minutes per topic. And our city attorney will be our timekeeper tonight. Just make sure you know, since we have a pinch hitter tonight. And we will not respond, so you may hear something in commissioners' comments. So we only have one name tonight, and that's Rob Morris. So Mr. Morris, the microphone is all yours. How are you doing tonight?
Okay, tonight, from the OBU Authority a month ago, Randy Smith quoted saying instrumentality, saying that the OBU Authority is an agency of the city of Shawnee. And no, I was wrong, and I apologize for saying that we gave OBU money. We didn't. We went into debt for OBU. And here's the easy way to find out. If OBU ever defaults on the loan, who has to pay it off? The authority, which is an agency of us. So again, that is a conflict of interest, putting that person's spouse on the board. Just want to bring that up again. Excuse me. The next is Frieza and Nichols for that contract. There's a really big blue zones representation here, and there's a bunch of things that don't make sense. Why aren't we using the offices in Oklahoma? There's one in OKC, there's one in Tulsa. This one is in Tarrant County, Fort Worth, Texas, to be specific, and we hear shop local all the time, so why wouldn't we keep local money in Oklahoma? Next, FNI is apparently certified as a work zone for a work site for blue zones. However, with that link I gave you, when you click on that, it says can't be found. They removed it. Now, with those 4 pictures I gave you, the very first one is the screenshot of what that should be on that page. And it's kind of a bad screenshot. My apologies for that. The next one, found on Twitter, where this one's still there. They had a giant party saying they were going to be a part of Blue Zones. Happy about it. Yet, their website, if you look at the next 2 pictures, first one is search for Blue Zones on their website. Nothing comes up. The next one is what happens when you click that link. It says not found. Sorry, but you were looking for something that isn't there. So, with that being said, why didn't we stay in Oklahoma with this? Still the same company, but we could have used OKC or Tulsa and not send it to a Blue Zones company down in Texas, even though still same company, just different location. Let's see. Okay, I see on there it says $30,000 just for meetings. That's a little pricey to me. I mean, for public meetings and then these virtual meetings where they're going to talk to people behind closed doors and do a bunch of work, That's a lot of money for that. I'm pretty sure we could do that cheaper. Travel time would be shorter if we did it locally. They also charge us an arm and a leg for travel time, having to leave the state of Texas. Why isn't the public involved as stakeholders, and how or why is Shawnee Forward a stakeholder? It's in phase 1. Because Shawnee Forward, nobody there is elected. Nobody there, aside from the ex officio member, was appointed there by the general public in this town. So Shawnee Forward does not speak for me specifically, and has no business trying to tell us how our code and laws should be. Next, and I got 5 seconds. We got $16,000 for a third-party review of this. And if we look at the scope of services, I apologize for dropping that. If we look at the scope of services, this is all about art. It has nothing to do with anything else. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Item 2 is consideration of the approval of the consent agenda. Is there anything anybody'd like to pull off the consent agenda? And if not, how about a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir. Daniel and Cammie. All righty, we have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 3 is normally our presentation by animal control. My understanding is that we will not have that this week, so we'll move on to item 4, presentation by Ray Poland, Oklahoma Municipal League, Vice President of the 25-year service for Scott Kilgore. So, Mayor, how are you tonight?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Mayor Bolt and Shawnee Commissioners, for allowing me the opportunity to address you. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Oklahoma Municipal League Executive Director Mike Fina and the President of OML, Kim Peterson. I don't in any way want you to think that we feel Shawnee to be second best because you got second fiddle here. You got the Vice President instead of the President, but the President, Kim Peterson, of OML is from Guyman,
Yep.
And it was a tough commute for him. So I'm from Jones. I'm the mayor of Jones, Oklahoma. So we're almost neighbors. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. One of the many things OML does for us as elected officials is they offer us many things to be a part of. The Mayor's Council of Oklahoma is something that I'm a part of. So is Mayor Bolt. We appreciate his participation in that, and it offers a lot of educational purposes for us. And one of those is the Congress of Mayors, which is coming up next month, and I would encourage any of you to go. It's not just for mayors. Any elected official can attend the Congress of Mayors. We get to go to the Capitol and actually pretend like we're the big dogs on 23rd Street and see what they go through. And when you sit in their chairs, it makes you think that these guys are just like us. They're doing a service for the state the same as we are through our local involvement. So I would encourage any of you to go. OML offers a lot of things for us, educational opportunities, training for what we do up there. They offer legal advice, but always tell us check with your city attorney before you make any decisions. And they have recently started a municipal health service that allows us a more competitive option for our employee health services that we have in each community. So it's really a benefit to be a part of that group. I'm here today, and if you don't mind, I'm going to turn my back on you guys because these guys are the most important. I'm here today to address you guys and to present a certificate. Yep, I'm retired from a large company, and when I worked for them, our corporate offices were in Tulsa, and they used to come down to our area where we worked all the time, and they used to tell us how we were the backbone of the company. And then they'd turn around and leave, and they didn't know me from Adam. How did they know I was the backbone of the company if they didn't know who I was? Once I got to be mayor and became a part of the management, I kind of looked at it from a different angle. It doesn't matter what you're doing. when you work for a municipality, and you work for a municipality for as long as this person has, you know that person is dedicated to their city and their service. It doesn't come lightly. So I'm here today to present an honor roll of service to Scott David Kilgore. I'm assuming that's you, so please come up. If you would, guys, would give him a big round of applause for 25 years of service. Working for a municipality is not easy. Working for a municipality in a public safety position is especially tough. I would imagine the things that you've seen in your community over the years could cause a little trauma on days. And I'm sure that there are times where you've done things that when you go home, you stick your chest out, hold your head high, and you're proud of what you do. And I just want to take this time to congratulate you on 25 years and appreciate your service, as well as everybody else here. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Also, your name will go into, this is a book that the Municipal League publishes every couple of years. And if you'll look, if you can see, I know it's hard, but this is the Shawnee section. And this is everybody from Shawnee who has gotten an award like this. So his name will go in this book as well, and anybody else that is recognized in years to come. Again, thank you very much. Appreciate your service. Thank you.
Very good. Item 5, consideration of professional services agreement with Frieza and Nichols, Inc. for development of a unified development code. So, Mr. Harkins, how are you, sir? First meeting with us. It's good to meet you.
I'm glad to be here, Mr. Mayor. Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity. This item is a contract with Frieza and Nichols for a unified development code. As you may recall, and if we can have the slides come up, one of the first implementation steps of any comprehensive plan, and yours was adopted in 2019, is a review of your current codes. And that's been done somewhat at different points over the last couple of years by staff, but it raises the issue in staff's review that a new code is needed. And currently you have, when you look online, for example, codes in a number of different places with adoption dates of different points in time. So one of the ideas behind a unified development code is every section that relates to how we do things with regard to planning and zoning is in one area of the code online. It's in one document, and it addresses a number of issues and brings things together from various sections of code now into one. So with that said, the contract before you tonight covers a number of different aspects. One is updated subdivision regulations, an updated zoning ordinance, and then an updated sign code. Again, all in one document. And that's done through a public involvement process that does involve a number of meetings. There's a sample of stakeholders in the contract, but we will also involve the general public and give people who want to express a viewpoint an opportunity to do so. So this is not an exclusive group by any means that you see listed. We'll do public meetings that talk about the development code and how we go about things, how we can do it better, and do it in a way that helps keep Shawnee looking forward and does it in a way that helps provide opportunity not only for an individual property owner, but for the bigger developers. Right now, what you see on this slide is kind of where we're at right now. Multiple pieces in different places. What we'd like to do at the end of this is have one product that is more streamlined, more efficient, and gives the user, again, whether they're the property owner that may do one addition once in their life, or a developer that comes in and does 150 houses a year, the opportunity to have something that's clear and understandable from the very beginning. And is something that is usable for staff and for decision makers. So at the end of the day, The staff that you'll see from the consultant will primarily be from Tulsa and Oklahoma City offices. The company is based in Texas, but the staff working on this day by day will be people that are in state, as well as a sub-consultant that is a law firm, specializes in redevelopment law. So they will be working hand in hand to make sure that everything at the end of the day in the final product is consistent with state statutes. Having said that, do you have any questions of staff?
Any questions, anybody? Not seeing any. Very good. Thank you so much. All righty. Gets us to item. Make sure I haven't skipped anything here. All righty. So, questions? Anybody got to put forth a motion on that? And we're still reading, it looks like. Everybody good?
Move to approve item 5.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Karen and Daniel. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 5. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 6, consideration of an ordinance. The City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, granting a non-exclusive permit to Clarity Telecom LLC for construction and operation of a cable system. And Mr. Foos is up. How are you, sir?
Good, and you?
Doing well, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight, Clarity Telecom LLC, doing business as Blue Peak, will give a short presentation on their proposal. For the Commission's consideration is a non-exclusive cable system franchise agreement. The highlights of that are it's a 10-year agreement period. The franchise fee is set at 5%. That only includes the cable services portion. It will not include internet services pursuant to state law. And then finally, there's a construction build-out requirement that 50% of the infrastructure be built out in 2 years and 90% be built out in 3 years. I'm going to now introduce Mr. Desi Stoops, the Vice President of Market Development.
Very good. How are you, Mr. Stoops?
Good. Mayor
to
Bolton,
see
how
you.
are you? Good to see you this evening, Commission. It's a pleasure to meet you all. My name is Desi Stoops. Grew up in Perry, Oklahoma. Graduated from Oklahoma State in '93. Been in telecommunications 28 or so years. Here we go. So I'm with Blue Peak. We come to you this evening for your consideration of approval for, again, like Mr. Foos said, a non-exclusive cable television franchise. A little bit of history about us. GI Partners, a private equity firm out of New York, purchased the original asset called Vast Broadband. It was operating in South Dakota and Minnesota. About 160,000 existing subscribers, independent cable operator of the year. And after the purchase of that, they said, great model, great business model, great product, go expand. Since that time, we've been on a rapid expansion throughout the Midwest. Having worked in this sector for so long, it was refreshing to actually bring technology to communities that have been overlooked. We'd built networks, New York, Chicago, LA, in Europe, and finally being able to do this in communities where we've spent time, a number of us, myself included, spent time in real, flyover states. Let's just call it what it is. We currently under construction in Bartlesville, Enid, Stillwater, Perry, starting in Tonkawa and Blackwell shortly. Last week I was in Muskogee. In Muskogee, we were granted franchise approval there. Tonight I've got a couple of folks over in Choctaw, and then one will be over in Hera on Thursday. In addition to the kind of the north central part of the state, we have a franchise agreements with Elk City, Clinton, and Weatherford. We'll be starting construction there probably in the summer. And Lawton was down in Lawton last week, as well as Chickasha. We'll be talking to Durant, just a number of other markets throughout. Total investment in the state of Oklahoma will be about 250 to 300 million. We're not using any public funds. This is all privately paid for through our investor. We anticipate investing 12 to $14 million in infrastructure here in the city of Shawnee. What we would do is begin work after the franchise's approval. We utilize the Quanta companies for our construction and engineering. The construction arm of that is Mears Construction. The engineering arm is HBK Engineering. They would work with the city engineers, department, Public Works about permitting cadence, locates, things like that. We would outline a plan for the city overbuild to make sure that we don't interrupt any events, construction that you guys are currently doing. We would work with the city for any permits that have been issued for new developments, home divisions that are going in. And we would partner with them about dropping conduit in advance so that we wouldn't disrupt that particular neighborhood again down the road. Speeds with true fiber. If you think about this, a lot of folks ask, why Shawnee? Why Perry? Why talk? Well, one, Perry, I grew up there, right? So I had to include it. But why? And I tell folks this. Your home has one electric provider, utility. Your home has one water supply, and your home likely has one copper or coax facility that was installed in the 70s, 80s, heck, even up to a couple of years ago with some new homes. Think about the technology advancements over the last 30 years. When I started in this, the internet didn't exist. Cell phones didn't exist. And you think about the advancements, and we're still using the same medium in a lot of these communities for all the technology needs. True Fiber has symmetrical service. Our minimum speed is 1 gig. I urge all of you to go home this evening and do a speed test on your iPad or laptop or whatever, okay? Our minimum speed that we'll offer to residents is 1 gig, true symmetrical, up, down. Also have a 2 gig and 5 gig option for residents. Commercial speeds will be 2 gig, 5 gig, 10 gig. That's our internet side. Over that same fiber, we'll be providing video services, much like any other cable television. They'll have a basic plus, 15 or so channels for $50, I think. Then there'll be another package for, local channels plus 100 for maybe $100, and then a 170 full suite of channels for about $120. Those will be delivered over fiber. There are a number of other players in this space. I'm sure you've heard. Some of them take federal funds. Some of them are just bringing fiber to communities. What makes us unique, I believe, and I'm proud to say this part, is we partner with the city with an actual franchise agreement. Other companies potentially would just bring fiber and offer high-speed internet, and the city gets no revenue out of that. With a cable television franchise and the video services that we offer, 5% of that revenue does go back to the city. And we envision this as a 30 to 40-year investment in Shawnee, as well as the state of Oklahoma. So, we encourage you to consider approval this evening. On the presentation, I've included a number of markets that we're currently building in. It'll be a combination of aerial as well as underground. We have pole attachment agreements with PSO and OG&E. And for areas that are served by PSO and OG&E, we're also working with CREC for some things up in the Perry, Stillwater area. So if there's any other, independent electric organizations that surround, we'll address and engage them as well. If utilities are currently underground within the city, we'll use orange trenchers as much as possible. And I say that tongue in cheek. We can't really force that on some of our subs, but growing up, I like to see orange trenchers instead of the yellow ones, if you know what I mean, coming from Perry. Included, this one is Lawton, as you can see, a lot of aerial and underground there. We'll likely be visiting with OBU for co-location in their data center to provide the facilities back outside. We're currently co-locating at Oklahoma State in the Oklahoma State Data Center on the Western and Hall of Fame. I was in Tahlequah yesterday working with NSU. The NSU branch in Muskogee will be co-locating likely there, as well as Tahlequah when we get over there. Last week I was in Cameron, like I said, when I was in Lawton, as well as USAO in Chickasha. We really believe true fiber enhances any distance learning, telehealth, remote workers. A lot of the folks I work with, a number of folks on economic development committees. Blackwell, for example, called me last Friday, I believe, asking about a potential and wanting to know what this actually means. I'll tell you this. Once this infrastructure is in place here in Shawnee, your technology and infrastructure will look like New York, LA, Chicago. You'll be able to pursue Hollywood movie production if you'd like, and hey, it would look like they were sitting in LA. Wall Street traders would have the ability to move here and trade, from a technology perspective. So, and I'll leave you with one example. In working with Dr. Raj Murthy, the CIO at Oklahoma State, I first started meeting with him in August when we started building out Stillwater. He had his whole staff there, and we were brainstorming about ideas of what this would mean to them. And he had a quote that I won't forget because it's spot on. He said, "Guys, these are all great ideas, but these are all nails because you're used to having a hammer in your hand. What this technology is a laser. You need to think about what you haven't thought about." My biggest fear is that we come in and put this type of technology in a lot of communities, and it's not grasped and used to its full capabilities. So we'll be happy to be working with the Economic Development Committee of Shawnee Forward, any other organizations within the city that we can partner with. Last few slides, how this all works. Franchise approved, engineering group starts working with Public Works, director of engineering here within the city. They start planning out the infrastructure. We look to capture between 80, 85, 90% of all of the households, rooftops, as well as businesses that we can on the first phase of construction. We'll work with the city. That's usually 3-6 months. I'll tell you this, our organization really values the Shawnee market, and we'd like to fast track as much of that as possible and begin construction as early as late spring. So we'll have a lot of folks focusing on the area should you consider approval this evening, and we'll be working hand in hand with you. Any questions?
Anybody got any questions?
Residential internet pricing. I'm sure your constituents will want to know how much is this going to cost them. We build the infrastructure from a monthly fee perspective. 1 gig, $50. 2 gig residential internet, $65. 5 gig residential internet, $100.
And they can't get that as an unbundled offering.
Yes, sir. You'll have to have fiber for the video service, but you can purchase internet standalone.
Right.
About telephone service?
No, sir. Not many landlines anymore, at homes. And from a fax and alarm lines, they still use copper facilities for that, simply because they're not in a shared facility. They're not in the cloud. Mayor Bolt knows this. So, from an alarm, elevator alarms, those type of things, fax machines, it's still copper facilities are still the modem for that as technology continues to try to advance. But I think one day they'll get there.
We have the tendency to have crazy swirly things that come out of the sky and rip telephone poles out of the ground and do stuff
Yes, sir.
like that. Yeah. Do you have a contract with local individuals as far as maintenance and upkeep on lines and things?
So when we partner and have pole attachment agreements with the organizations I mentioned, PSO, OG&E, they assume responsibility for that, and we're just a renter of the pole. So we hope that they continue to maintain them. I will say this. It will be and I was actually just in Stillwater earlier this afternoon visiting with John McClenny. He's in charge of special projects for the city. and I'll work with Ms. Behringer about franchise revenue. It'll be interesting to see where franchise revenue sits for your current incumbent today from revenue perspective for the city and what it becomes, because your point is right on. DirecTV, Dish, non-terrestrial cable television providers don't pay a franchise fee because they're not in public right-of-way. They're on rooftops. Those mediums tend to go out in tornadoes and storms. We're anticipating when you have true fiber, 2 homes, that likely the cable video revenue will uptick from individuals getting frustrated with a non-terrestrial modem for cable television. So it'll be interesting to see if we actually see an uptick in the number of these markets that we're building into. I tell you, there's some municipalities that still have a high subscription rate to the traditional cable television, and I think that's common throughout rural America. I mean, we're building currently in Sheridan, Casper, Laramie, and Cheyenne, Wyoming, as well as Grand Forks, North Dakota, as well as, I told you all the markets here in Oklahoma, in addition to Salina, Hutchinson, and Manhattan, Kansas. And I think in rural, the flyover states, individuals like to get home, turn on the TV, right? And there's less streaming of content. So it'll be interesting to see how the revenue, the franchise agreements shake out going forward after this technology is installed. Okay? Any other questions for me?
Anything else?
So you will be like my neighborhood's underground.
Yes, sir.
A lot of newer is all, we've got a lot of underground. I don't know our percentages compared to other cities, but so your company's going to come in and work with the city on where the easements are, go in and
Yes, sir.
do the whole neighborhood at a time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was actually just in Stillwater reviewing work out on the Sanger Country Club area, the southwest part of Stillwater, which is all underground utilities. We work with, so HBK does all of our civil engineering. They'll know easements are 4 feet, 8 feet, front yard, backyard. The city will outline back easement's full, you got to use the front easement. Or back easement has space, go in the back. And so they'll use underground boring, directional boring, so they're not going to open trench front yards. There'll be a hole, the bore will go in, and it'll come out at 2 or 3 yards down the road. And then they stub up there, and they'll put a vault in, flush mount, and then when that particular consumer chooses the service, then they'll micro trench into the premise. So, and as different neighborhoods come online, service will be available to that neighborhood. It won't be 3 years before we turn the switch on. So, typically I have a lot of jockeying after these council meetings that I go to with individual commissioners. Hey, how do you move my neighborhood, my board up first? That's just, I'm sorry, that's kind of funny, but typically that's what. But so no, neighborhoods do come online as they're completed, different parts of the community. Shawnee will likely be, I think Stillwater's 8 different phases with 8 different zones within each phase. And so we'll be real concise in working with this. Think about this. Shawnee likely has never had a complete utility overbuild. If you think about the infrastructure of every municipality really throughout the state, no one has ever really overbuilt a complete city. Cities start and then they continue to expand the infrastructure from there. It is an undertaking, and I'll make sure, hear me when I say there will be challenges. There will be sprinkler heads cut that our guys will repair the same day. That's just that. It will be construction, but we resolved and continue to resolve and get better at restoration with respect to sod being replaced, dirt being removed. We're actually taking all the vac mud that comes out of those bore machines, and we're actually taking it to the equine center at Stillwater. We stopped by there and I said, hey, we've got a lot of dirt. They go, we have a lot of erosion. So, if there's, that's the type of partnership that we work in each of these. So that will be an asset. I failed to mention, Shawnee is an anchor market for us. We'll have a storefront here. There'll likely be 12 to 15 individuals hired and put in Shawnee. We're looking forward to that. They'll use local Mears. While Mears is the umbrella construction arm, they'll use a number of subs to do work. A lot of those subs are from, Oklahoma and Arkansas and Texas. And I'll tell you, whenever I was visiting with the boys up in Perry and Tonkawa, they're, oh, Shawnee, Muskogee, that makes my drive over to Fort Smith, saves me 2 hours on the weekend. So, things like that, we try to be as, Oklahoma-centric as we can. There'll likely be a lay yard for conduit reels and things like that the Mears will identify within the city. 5 to 10 acres, secure, camera, internet, those type of things. Gravel, will they'll store equipment overnight. So there's a lot of things there that we consider and address.
You mentioned residential rates. Is there a business rate also?
There is a business rate, sir, but I don't have it with me. I will make sure that I follow up with you on that. I'll tell you, it's not $1,200 like I was quoted in downtown Stillwater recently.
Ask about phones. But what about voice over IP?
So that's an over-the-top service that we would encourage citizens to look at a Vonage or any other over-the-top VoIP solution. A lot of those you can just buy off the shelf, and there's a number of providers that do that. So it's just not something. When you get into local dial tone, you get into 911, you get into all of the GIS, FCC, local calling, LD call. It's just something that we didn't really need to pursue.
But you'd just provide the pipe and then someone would have to.
Yes, sir.
So you'd do the layer 1 connection and then.
Correct.
And then they just get that wherever they want.
Any over-the-top provider. There's actually a little guy in Tonkawa that I met that was providing VoIP service for Tonkawa over that infrastructure. And I encouraged him. I said, hey, you need to come right behind us and offer your service to the residentials, the municipalities that we're building into. Because his service today is over an old, a coax medium or a, bundled copper facility. I said, over true fiber, you're going to have, there won't be jitter, there won't be lag, there won't be any of that. It'll likely be better.
I mean, for me, the biggest concern is finished. Over the years, every time I've had contractors, whether they're bearing fiber or whatever else, they'll come in, lay the unit, bore the hole, kind of halfway clean it up, throw sod over the top of it in 6 months. It's settled to where it's 8 or 10 inches deep, and you're back, as a homeowner or a business owner, having to go back out and finish what it is. That's
Sure.
something I really perturbs me with every time I've been involved with a private contractor.
Got it.
And, I know it's hard, but, they move to the next deal, and then, they never show back up to really finish grading.
Sure.
Because overnight it's not, it's a 6 months later that
Right.
it's an issue.
Understood. Well, and I think the benefit is, should you consider approval this evening, we're going to be around for about 3 years. That's how long it's going to take us to finish the infrastructure here. So, hopefully.
So, and that's the history we don't, but that's something the city's gonna have to deal with, because
Right.
at some point when you're born in my yard, I'm kind of picky.
Yep.
But that's how you'd want the neighborhood to look.
Sure. Understood.
When do you anticipate your storefront opening? Is that within that 3-year time frame?
Oh, goodness. No, it'll probably be within the next 6 months or so, 8 months. We have a director of real estate that will likely, I'm meeting him in Bartlesville on February the 2nd. We're looking at a couple of properties there. Sorry. When he's up that first week of February, I'll try to get him down here to start looking for properties and such. Okay.
Like anything else?
I think the competition's good.
Yeah, competition's good. Definitely.
Okay.
Thank you, Desi. All righty. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll
All
second.
righty. Thank you, sir. Mark and Darren. All righty. You're up.
Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, granting a non-exclusive permit to Clarity Telecom LLC for the construction and operation of a cable system.
Thank you, ma'am. So we have a motion and a second for approval of item 6. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 7, public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at 1011 East Farrell Street from A1 Rural Agricultural District to R1 Single Family Residential District, case number RZ01-22, applicant Paula Lauderdale. And Mr. Harkins is back up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commission members. Ryan Harkins, Community Development Director. This is a rezoning request for property at 1011 East Farrell. This is a 6-acre tract that essentially runs on a north-south axis. It is zoned A1 currently. There is a 1-acre section that is proposed for rezoning tonight that is before you. That 1-acre tract currently has the existing single-family residential house on it. The applicant is looking at ultimately doing a lot split, and the rezoning is the first step in this process. So the 1-acre tract would be separate, and the 5-acre tract would be its own property that would stay agricultural. There is R1 zoning adjacent to this, so this would not be an issue of spot zoning, but a continuation of that R1. Questions of staff that we can answer at this time?
What you guys got for questions? Give them a second to look through that, but
Not a problem.
we'll-
While the commission looks through the packet for this item, I would add that the Planning Commission recommended approval to you by a vote of 7-0. Staff's recommendation is concurrent with that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody got any questions? No? You good? See, Mark's still looking on, make sure.
I'm good.
You good?
Yeah.
I want to make a motion to approve.
Well, I think we gotta open public,
Oh,
hearing.
sorry.
so.
Hello.
All righty, so with that, we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Not seeing any. Is there anybody here to speak in opposition? We have a quiet bunch. All righty, with that, we will close the public hearing. Now we can make a motion.
Apologies. I will now make a motion to approve.
We've all done it, believe me.
Those two.
I'll second.
Thank you, ma'am. So, Cammy and Daniel, and I think you are up again.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance concerning the zoning classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the City of Shawnee, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, to wit: a tract of land described as beginning 577.5 feet east of the northwest corner of the southwest quarter of Section 20, Township 10 North, Range 4 east of the Indian Meridian, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, thence east 295.7 feet, thence south to the CRIMP Railway, thence westerly along said line to a point 33 feet east of the southeast corner of Grove Addition to the City of Shawnee, thence north 855 feet to the point of beginning, from zoning classification A1 Rural Agricultural District to R1 Single Family Residential District, and amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
Thank you, ma'am.
Did you hear that okay?
I did.
Okay.
That was a mouthful. All righty, so we have a motion and a second for approval of item 7. We will call the question. And that motion passes 6-0. Item 8, consideration of the following budget amendments for fiscal year 2021 to 2022. How are you doing, Jacob?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
And great.
Good. We have 2 budget amendments, one for insurance recovery to be appropriated for police vehicle repair, and one for donations that was received to the police department for the purpose of purchasing body cameras. If you have any questions about these 2, I'll be happy to answer.
Anybody got any questions? So it sounded like we collected on some insurance, and I know the second one was a grant that we applied for, because I
Yeah,
can remember
some
signing the
donations.
paperwork on that. Any questions, or anyone want to make a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank
I'll
you, sir.
second.
All righty, we have a motion and a second, so for approval of item 8, so we'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 9, acknowledge monthly sales tax and budget reports, so I know you'll have good news for us, right?
Yes, sir.
That's the rumor I hear.
That is the rumor. It was another good month. January sales tax year to date, we were 16.7% above our projections. And in comparison to January 2021, we had an increase of 11.66%. So good on the sales tax. As far as expenses go, our largest fund, the general fund, is within budget.
Very good.
Yeah,
That
if
is
you have any
good news.
questions.
Thank you, sir. Item 10, administrator report. So, Ms. Whitmore-Behringer, you are up. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. How is everyone?
Great.
Before we conclude today's regular City Commission meeting, I have 2 updates on separate topics to give to you. You may remember that on December 6th, we had a special meeting of the City Commission, which was entirely focused on the Santa Fe Depot. At that time, you had several questions for which you requested follow-up. Let's begin with the easy question that was posed at that time. You asked about the cost of the exterior investigation study. You may remember that GH2 architects did this study for us, and they were retained by the city for a cost of $12,000 for the existing conditions report. That contract included also bidding documents, for which they received just a little over $22,000 for a total contract amount of $34,720. You have also asked about the incremental cost of rehabilitation of a historical structure, and that is not an easy question. So as I was digging through that, I found all kinds of different answers, but no specific direction other than it all depends. And it depends in general on the materials that have been used in the original construction, the level of craftsmanship and detail involved in the original building, and then also whether there are materials used, have been used, or will be used again for restoration purposes that have been handcrafted beyond what is currently out on the market. So all of these components play a role. In addition to that, the condition of the overall structure, the level of deterioration, plays a significant role in the cost. So there is no true number of how much it will cost. In general, a comparison between new construction and restoration of a historical building, The cost mostly sits in labor rather than materials, unless there are some artesian materials that are involved in that. And then, of course, one thing to keep in mind, just because it is a structure on the National Register of Historic Buildings does not mean it is extremely expensive. There are ways to restore those structures within a budget. The guiding documents for the restoration are the Secretary of Interior's standards for rehabilitation. It does not specify that no changes can be made. It specifies that the characteristic components of the historical building be kept intact. If those cannot be restored, then they can be replaced with like elements. So again, that was not an easy question to answer, and I know it sounds rather vague saying it all depends on how, what, and to what extent it had already deteriorated. But we would have to take that one step at a time. One other question you asked was to give a report out on successful rail depots, and I specifically focused on those among the first round of research that looked similar and felt similar to our depot in size and location. And I just want to bring just those few to your attention. The first one may sound somewhat familiar. It is very similar to what we have here. Built in 1905, the Santa Fe Rail Depot in Pauls Valley, it was saved from demolition in 1989, acquired by the city, and then turned over to the Historical Society to renovate and manage. So similar, yet a little different. The depot in Norman was originally built in 1909. It is still a railway station, but it also serves as an art gallery, a concert venue, and a rentable community meeting space. Going out of state, the Santa Fe Depot in Ballinger, Texas, it was built in 1911, was renovated in 1983, and it now houses city offices. So complete departure from the original purpose. The 1920s Santa Fe Depot in Monrovia, California, it was completely, it completely underwent the creative reuse process, and it is now a restaurant. No longer office space, meeting space, or anything, but truly used for a private business. I also stepped a little bit outside of our size and looked at what could be done if more land around the depot was included, because several other areas have done that as well, either because adjacent buildings were taken into account, or in one case specifically, an entire rail yard was used as part of the restoration purposes. And there, what happened was, in the case of Santa Fe and New Mexico, they took not only the depot, but the entire rail yard complex and turned it into a shopping center and entertainment center, which now covers 50 acres. And I understand that that is much larger than what we have around the depot, but it shows what possibilities are there. And lastly, before moving away from the topic of the Santa Fe Depot, I would like to bring to your attention that the visioning we've spoken of in early December is among a select number of high priority projects that our new community development director will be working on in the near future. So I'll gladly turn the detailed work on that over to Mr. Ryan Harkins, who is in his third week this Tuesday. A totally different topic, and I know that it has been quite some time, and there have been some rumblings among the community of whether the city was going to pick back up on the homeless program. And I am really happy to share with you that our brand new homeless program coordinator will be coming on board next week, a little earlier than anticipated. Her name is Erica Genti. She is in the room today. Most recently, Ms. Genti worked for community health centers as their program coordinator. She comes to us with 20 years of experience working with high-risk, low-income individuals and families, as well as homeless individuals, all in the name of addressing their medical needs as well as any other immediate needs they may have. Specifically in Shawnee, over the last several years, she has either worked or volunteered in a variety of capacities and there assisted many of the most vulnerable community members, including those without housing. Ms. Genty's background also includes nonprofit and strategic management, and it will greatly help the city continue build the robust and cohesive response to homelessness that we are anticipating putting in place. Ms. Genty is very passionate about meeting people where they are in order to best assist them. In her new role, she will not only fulfill the city's she will not only fulfill the contact role for the city's Build for Zero initiative, but she will also collaborate with the many service providers we already have. In addition to that, she will step into the grant management for the various grants that we were able to obtain last year. We have buttoned all of those up in order to not go into default on those grants, and they are ready for Ms. Genty to step right in. So again, her homelessness, hands-on experience, as well as her management experience will really, really be of great value to the city. And with that said, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have on either one of those topics.
Very good questions. Thank you so much. All righty. Item 11 is new business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
No new business. All righty. We're down to commissioners' comments. I'm going to start this direction because Mark never gets to go first.
Never get to go first.
Now you get to go first.
First thing is tax reports. It's trending good for a long time, so that's glad to see. And the fiber, I hate to beat the horse on the finished work. I mean, I think competition is really good, so I'm glad to see you guys come to town. I just hope the finished product is kind of what we expect. COVID's kind of running rapid again. You know, you kind of a little concerned about that, so I think everybody needs to stay safe. But it's really encouraging to see the sales tax trend like it is. I think everybody's kind of, you know, everybody keeps, and Rob brought up, you know, the shop at home, and you try to spend money here at home. And I know a lot of times when we look outside to get help on things, there's just not local people that can do what we need to get done. So, but I think hopefully staff is always looking locally, or at least in Oklahoma, before they go out of state. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Yeah, sales tax report, great. Everyone keep shopping local. It works. Mr. Harkins, we haven't met yet, so glad to have you on board.
Welcome to Shawnee.
Yes, welcome. And Scott Kilgore
He already left.
left earlier, but I wanted to congratulate him on 25 years. I've known him probably that entire time, and it's a prime example. We have good people here that work for the city of Shawnee, our fire department, our police department. But I was there when he was doing his paramedic studies, and a lot of those guys that I know, and, you know, heaven forbid they have to roll up on you for some reason, but we've got the best.
Yep.
That's all
Sir?
I got.
All righty. You're up.
All right, very good. Again, the income tax, the sales tax report was just unbelievable. Almost 12% above last year, which that was one of the conversations that we had last year about this time. Is this something that's based off of the stimulus checks? Is it going to go away whenever the stimulus checks run out? But thank goodness that it's not, and that people are continuing to shop here, and it's increasing on the regular. So, good job, folks. Ryan, welcome, sir. Look forward to building a relationship with you and working hard. And I've heard amazing stories about your dedication and hard work in your former position, and look forward to seeing the great things that you can do here with us. And you don't know how fortunate you are to be working with the amazing people that we have here. We have a fantastic group of folks, and you're going to fit in very well based on what I've heard about you. So welcome and thank you. Let's see. I'm excited to see things like the fiber. That although it's something that has the ability to cause some, discomfort at first, like anything does when you rebuild and repurpose and construct things, but it's for something that could be amazing and help us move forward when we need it. And so, thank you, sir, for dedicating that time. And then I'm really excited to see this going to be a local office here, so that won't be, like we said earlier, trying to find somebody far away to answer our questions and be part of what we're doing. As always, staff, thank you for your hard work. Thank you for being the amazing individuals that you are. Love working with you guys on a regular basis, and ladies, and hope that the direction that we're moving will be something that continues. Got a lot of really amazing projects, really amazing folks and positions doing really good things. Last, whoever worked on my chair for me, I appreciate it. This is the first time in a long time I haven't felt like I was going to die whenever I leaned back. So that's awesome. I appreciate that. And it is very noted that whoever tightened up the armrest, you're my hero. So thank you, whoever that person was. So, yes. Thank you, sir.
I wanted to say welcome to our new staff members that I haven't got a chance to meet in person, and I'm excited to meet you guys and work with you and see what you bring to the community. I've heard wonderful things. I think that we have such a great staff in place now, and it's so exciting to see each week how the meetings are run efficiently, and I appreciate all the work that goes into those little, by the time we get here, those memos, I feel like things are just run smoothly, and I appreciate all the hard work that goes into preparing for the meeting that people often don't notice. I wanted to say too, this was on the consent agenda, but a special thank you to all of the citizens that are willing to serve on commissions and boards. And one of the reasons that we're able to get through meetings so easily is because of the people that will come be on the planning commission or zoning boards, and those positions are very important and a great way to get involved in the community. And if anyone needs more information about that, I'm sure staff can point you in the right direction to apply, but consider being a part of those. We really appreciate the people that take time to do that. I was excited to hear, oh my gosh, excited to hear about the possibility of new internet and cable providing services, and the fact that you guys will have a brick and mortar store here and a presence in the community. I think that's great. Let's see. Congratulations to Mr. Kilgore. And also excited to hear about the sales tax. I like to think that my weekly reminders to shop local really kicked in. But please consider shopping local or buying online for that use tax. That's it.
Ma'am?
First of all, thanks to Scott Kilgore, but not just Scott, his entire family, for all of our first responders, police, fire, emergency services. One person in their family may be an employee of the city of Shawnee, but they all serve and go through the stress of the job. And so to Scott and his entire family, thank you for your life of service. And to all, just talking with Major Taylor outside about my thankfulness for his serving, and we have so many outstanding individuals serving in our police and fire and emergency services. Very thankful. The high-speed internet and cable deal, I don't think we can undersell that. That's a really big deal for our community. To have those type of speeds is another tool for those that work in the economic development world, and sets us apart when businesses are looking for a place to locate, and a great deal for our services. I was surprised to find out that they allow stoops at Oklahoma State. I thought all those had to go to the University of Oklahoma, but learn something every day. The uniform code is another deal that I'm really passionate about. We're quite behind. From my time on the Planning Commission, now the City Commission, frankly, our codes are, I think a polite term would be a mess. And so to catch them up and modernize them and align them will be a good thing for citizens. It'll be a good thing for development. It's a good thing for staff, and will make things much easier. And so that's a very needed update that staff has been working on to get to this point for a good while, and so excited to see that happen. Welcome to Ryan and Miss Genty. We're glad to have you on board and look forward to your incredible work. Mr. Mayor, it's all yours.
All righty, thank you, sir. You guys talked about a lot of good stuff, so I'll try not to beat a dead horse here. But yeah, there's so many good things tonight. Like a lot of you, I'm excited about the fiber, and not just because the technology or the communications business was what I worked in for almost 30 years, but fiber to me is just so exciting because I know the speeds that he talked about. They sound so fast right now, but 10 years from now we're gonna laugh at those. And the fiber, once you've got that in place, the speed is only limited by the electronics at the end of it. So they'll be changing that stuff out down the road. And I mean, the speeds that he talked about tonight, they sound fast, but they're gonna sound like nothing in 10 years. And that really opens so many doors for us. So I'm really excited about that. It's good to have competition and good for the technology to move forward. So I think that's a great thing coming to our community. As Mark mentioned, and I mean, all you gotta do is watch the news. COVID is definitely not gone. We all need to be careful. I mean, there's a couple of us up here wearing masks, and we see lots of people, and the last thing I want to do is accidentally bring something in here to somebody. So decided to be very, very careful tonight. And you notice, I mean, there's some folks that aren't here tonight that are normally here. So I mean, just please be careful. Sales tax, I mean, great news, and that seems to be a trend every month, and that's really good to see. So keep spending your money here in town. I too want to welcome Mr. Harkins. First time I've got to lay eyes on him tonight. So welcome to the team, and as all of them said, you've got a great team that you're working with, and we're really excited to have you. I know when Andrea was telling me about making the hire, she was just glowing as she spoke. She was so excited. So she set the bar way up here now, so no pressure or nothing. Ms. Genty, I actually met her a few months ago accidentally and didn't know that she had applied for that job, and I was just so impressed with her. She has a big heart and so much experience, and she is not afraid to go out and do the work. That I know. I know she knows a lot of our homeless population in town and has a street name. And I think she is going to do an amazing job. And I was so excited to hear that she had applied for that job. And then I was really excited to hear that she got that position. So I think she's going to do great things here in Shawnee. So with that, I think we will move on. So we are adjourned, and we will move to the Airport Authority. Item 1 is consider approval of the consent agenda. Anybody got anything on that?
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir. All righty, we have a motion and a second. We will call the question. And that passes 6-0. Any new business?
No new business.
Very good. We are adjourned. We will go on to the Municipal Authority. Item 1, consider approval of consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Man, that was tough. I think I heard it down this end. That was tough. All righty. So we have a motion and a second for approval of item 1. We'll call the question. And that passes 6-0. Any new business?
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
We are adjourned. Let's go home. Everybody have a good week. Thank you for coming tonight.